Hi everyone, it's TheTidesChanging here, and welcome to another Newcrest speed build. Today I'm making a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home named Beech Cottage, and I just called it that because I wasn't really sure what to name it. And the lot I made this on was called, I think, Beech Byway. So I just took off the byway and added cottage to go with the sort of cottage theme that I have so far for this neighborhood. Because so far the other two lots I made for Newcrest have had cottage in their names. I'm not sure if I'm gonna continue on with that. I probably won't, but since this house had a very cottage-like appearance to it, I thought that it would be good to include that in the name. And this house cost just under 65,000 simoleons. I actually meant to make it under 35,000, but as I was making it, I just kept wanting to make it look nicer and nicer, so that didn't exactly work out. And I just didn't want to have a house that looked very bare and kind of crappy. So I just put a little bit more money into making it look nice, but I think 65,000 simoleons is still pretty affordable for a 3-bedroom home. I probably will make the home on the lot next to this one, the other 30 by 21, around 35,000 or 40,000 simoleons, because I definitely need something in between the cost of the starter homes that I made and the cost of this house. And then for the 40 by 30 lot that's on the other side of this one, I'll probably make that a larger 2-floor family home that costs between 100,000 to 150,000 simoleons. And then there is a whole other neighborhood that I'm going to turn into more residential lots, so I'll probably put another house in there that's between the starter cost and this one. I am also working on a spa for Newcrest. I did mention in the last Newcrest house that I made that I had started on a spa, and then I somehow saved over it with another safe house, so I completely lost it, and that I was going to rebuild it. So I have started on rebuilding it, except instead of rebuilding the same thing I had before, I ended up making it way bigger, so it's going to take even longer to make. But it does look a lot better. I think it also is laid out much better because I discussed in that Let's Build that I did not think about the interior layout whatsoever when I was making it. But this time I did, so everything just goes together really nicely and all the rooms have good sizes and everything. But it's about halfway done, so I just have to buckle down and finish that. It didn't take me that long at all to get to this point of the house being built. I didn't base this off of a floor plan like I sometimes do, but I did have a layout and the look I wanted for it in mind, so when I went into the game to actually build it, everything came together pretty quickly. And this isn't a very creative house. I mean, it's pretty basic and simple, and that's because it was a house that was made with a budget in mind, so I wasn't able to go all crazy with the furnishing and get really creative, but it is good to have homes that you can work your Sims up through if you are playing the game without cheats. But I really do enjoy the more creative builds like the last one that I made, which was like Costume Shop. So I would love to do more creative builds in the future, but I do also enjoy doing the simpler houses from time to time because they do take a little bit less time to make, which is nice. It is almost Halloween, so I probably should have had another Halloween build, but I did make the Costume Shop, so I figured one Halloween build was enough. But I do add a little pumpkin onto the front porch just to give a fall touch. I also hadn't made one of these Newcrest builds in a while, so I figured it was about time I made another one of these. At this point, the whole house is built, the railings are up on the decks and everything, so right now I'm adding in a fence all around the yard. So in the front we have sort of a picket fence, and then around the back we have a hedge fence. And this actually made the house a lot more expensive than it would have been. So this was the point where having it be under 35,000 simoleons just went out the window. And I thought about getting rid of the fence. I thought maybe I should just keep the house cheaper, not have the fence. But I really liked how it looked. I just thought it looked really cute and gave the house a very nice and charming look. And I don't normally put fences on my houses, so I thought it was good to do something somewhat different than what I normally do, so I just decided to keep it and make this house a little bit more expensive. But the other house that I make next to this one on the 30 by 20 lot to the left of it, I won't put a fence on that one so I can keep it cheaper. But other than that, the landscaping's pretty simple. I just have some plants out front of the house and a few trees there as well. For whatever reason, I got rid of all the plants that were in front of the house. I think it was because I thought the plants came out a little bit too far, but I'm adding in some terrain paint for a bit of detail and trying to figure out another tree to put on this side of the house just because I thought I could use something else over there. So I just stuck in another one of the hawthorn trees that I had on the other side, and right now I'm getting all the plants back in. So this time I used some smaller plants and just kept them a bit closer to the house. I also used some of the plants from Outdoor Retreat once again, because I have found that they are cheaper than some of the other flowers. Like I think they cost 50 simoleons, whereas some of the other ones are around 200. So you save a bit of money there, and I also threw in some ferns as well. So that's it for the landscaping right out in the front of the house. I'm just adding a few things around the sides here, because for whatever reason, I felt like there had to be something up against the hedge fence right here. And I don't think I stuck anything around that side. So now moving on to the backyard here. We have a nice big oak tree in the corner over there. And then I just stuck a bunch of brick right off of the stairs back here. And then I thought it'd be nice to have sort of a circle, like a semicircle at the end of where the brick is, and to put a bonfire pit in there. So that's what I end up doing, and I was just lining it with some dirt to give it a little bit of extra detail. So here's the campfire with 4 chairs around it, and then back here on this little brick area, all there is in addition to that is just some garden boxes. So I just put in 2 to save some money, but if you do have a sim who's really into gardening, there's plenty of room to put more in, and also getting some plants in all of the corners as well. That's pretty much all I have left to do in this yard area back here. So I found this lavender plant, which I don't use too much, so I thought that would be nice to include in there. I also added in a bird bath, and I debated whether or not I should keep it because it was sort of pricey, but I ended up keeping it because it was pretty cute looking. I thought it was a nice touch. So that's it for all, oh never mind, that's not it for all the plants. I did stick some more in this corner, but I took out the flower plant that's there and stuck in a tree instead. This is, I felt like the yard needed another tree in it. So that is actually it for the landscaping. So now I'm working on the whole deck area that's back here. So I do put in the cheapest grill, and then we also add in the large table that came with perfect patio stuff and a whole bunch of chairs around it. So this is a nice space to have your Sims throw a cookout at. And you probably could cram in a bar if you wanted to, like in the space in front of the stairs, because I didn't end up putting anything in there. Just added in a few things near the garden, and now all I have left to do on the outside of the house is just add in all the lighting. So I'm just getting a few hanging lights as well as a few wall lights all over the place. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the nighttime lighting. So we're just about to move on to the interior, although first I do add in that pumpkin that I mentioned. So we just have one pumpkin right near the front door, and then going inside, this whole open area in here is the kitchen, living, and dining area. And it was actually sort of an odd space. Like I had some trouble figuring out the layout for it because it's not really defined what is what except for the kitchen. And right now I'm getting in the wallpaper, so I wanted to use that mint green type color that I found. And I also was thinking it could be kind of cool to use that wallpaper that came with spooky stuff as an accent wall. But it didn't look nearly as good as I had hoped it would, so I do end up getting rid of it at some point. But maybe that's something that'll look good in another house. I do really hope they add in more wallpapers at some point, because the selection they have now really isn't that good. Like, either the wallpapers are pretty old-fashioned, like you have the plaid wallpaper, you also have that striped wallpaper, or they go the opposite way and are pretty futuristic looking. So I just like to see something that's in between the two of those. Like hopefully that's something they'll put into the game into the future, because I really would love to have some more wallpapers to use as accent walls. Right now I'm on the kitchen just getting in all the cabinets and such. I thought that having black cabinets would go nicely with the mint green wallpaper that I had throughout this room. Figuring out how to lay out the kitchen was pretty easy. It was the rest of the room that was the problem. And the sink is halfway under the window, which sort of drive me nuts. And usually I would do this thing where I would center a counter in front of the window and then overlap counters next to it. But I didn't want to do that with this build because I am focusing on playability with it and trying not to make things too expensive. So I just dealt with it and left it like that for this build. But yeah, we've got all the appliances and everything in the kitchen. I didn't really put in much as far as decorations. I think those bottles on the counter were the only decorations that I added in. We also have a trash can. And then I was thinking that it would be nice to have an island counter in here, like in the middle. But I do end up getting rid of it just because it took up space I needed for the dining room. Oh, I also put in a dish rack near the sink, and then we also have some cookbooks there. But originally I was going to have the dining room table just crammed into the space between the bar stool and the wall and right in front of the doors going outside. But yeah, I realized that was just a very cramped layout and it wasn't really going to work out that well. So what I do eventually is I just take out the island counter there and then just have a longer table in that whole space. So I think I do that pretty shortly here. I went back and walled off the whole entrance area here because I figured if I walled that off and put an arch in, then I could use that wall to the left of the arch to put the TV on, and that might be a decent way to arrange a space because I just really wasn't sure how to arrange a living room. That was the biggest trouble I had with this room. I also changed that Spooky Day wallpaper to be a brick just because I wasn't sure what else to use as the accent wall, and I didn't think using another plain paint color would look that good, so I just threw in some brick. I also added the brick in behind the counters. I tried out the mint green paint, but I just thought the brick looked a little bit better, so I just stuck with that. And here we are sticking the dining room table right outside of where the kitchen is. Yeah, I just thought that was a better way to use the space so that there could be a larger table in there and it wasn't so cramped, because before the table was sort of blocking the door going outside and I just thought it looked very odd. So this looks a little bit better, so that's a table and chairs I end up going with. Also sized up one of those rugs and stuck it underneath there. And I was so happy when they put out that patch where you could size up the rugs, because that is something I've been wanting to do for so long. I was also thinking that it could be kind of cool if you could raise up rugs as well, because I'm pretty sure you still can't do that, but there are some creative things you could do with that. Like one time I wanted to raise up a rug to put it on top of a table or something to just look like a cloth that was on it, and then it could also look kind of cool to put them, like to put a raised up rug at the foot of the bed to look like a blanket that's at the foot of the bed. So it'd be kind of cool if someday that's something we could do. But right now I'm working on the living room, and I just got so stuck on the living room and what kind of furniture I should use. So I was thinking that since this is supposed to be an affordable build, I should use the cheapest couch and the cheapest chairs. But I just really didn't like how they looked, and I wanted this interior to have a more upscale look than that. So eventually I go with one of the couches that came with Get to Work. You'll see which one I use shortly, but I did stick with those couches for a little bit, and I thought something didn't look quite right with the windows and curtains that I had in there. So what I thought might help to make that look a little bit better is to put in some slightly larger windows, so that way the curtains wouldn't go so far below the bottom of the window. And that actually did make it look a little bit better, I think. But we just stuck in a chair right there, and then also getting in a light in between the chair and the couch. And then on the other side I just added in an end table with a light on it. And I didn't add in a whole lot of clutter to this living room because again, clutter costs money, so I was trying not to use too much of it. Although I do go a little bit overboard with clutter in the bedrooms, but I guess it's not too bad. I really do like that coffee table that I use there though. So here's where I switched to the couch that came with Get to Work, and I really think that looks a lot better in here. It gives this living room a more elegant look without being too expensive, because that couch isn't too bad as far as the cost goes. But that's pretty much it for the whole living room area. Over here against this wall, I thought it'd be nice to have a reading nook, because this house doesn't have a separate study and I wanted there to be a bookshelf somewhere, so I thought that this would be a good spot for it, and there could be a nice little peaceful reading area off to the side. So that's done already. And the next room that I worked on here is the master bedroom. There is also a master bathroom, and it's that small 2x3 room that you see right off the bedroom. And the reason why I arranged it like that is so it would close off the hallway from the living area a bit more. Because otherwise, if I had kind of stuck it inside the bedroom, you would just look over from the living room and see this big open area with a bunch of doors off of it. And I thought that would look sort of odd, so it just looks better, a bit more closed off from the living area. But for this bedroom, I decided to go with a purple color for the walls. And then we also have the next to cheapest double bed. Well, that's if you're not counting the air mattresses. I always forget about the air mattresses, but it's the next most expensive bed after the cheapy modern double bed. Other than that, I went with sort of an industrial theme with the rest of the furniture because I find that that end table and dresser set goes pretty well with this bed. This bedroom is pretty simple, but I still liked how it turned out. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to place the clutter that's going to be on top of the dresser freely. And I realized that a better way to do this than what I was doing before, which was where I would fill up all the slots and then just raise up the objects and put it on it, is to move the dresser or whatever, counter or whatever you're placing items on further away, and then snap the objects to it and then move them over to where the dresser's gonna be. I just found that's a little bit easier than trying to raise everything up, but you do have to adjust things a few times to make sure it's placed where the dresser is actually going to be. So hopefully my little explanation of that made sense, but I also changed the flooring to wood in here and added in that nice large rug. For this side of the room, since there wasn't an actual study, I thought it'd be good to include a desk area, just in case you want to have a computer for your Sims, but if they're not interested in that, you could always replace it with an object based on another interest that your Sims have. So I didn't go with the cheapest computer, I went with one that was a little bit nicer, and I did use a desk that matched the dresser and end tables and everything that I had. So that's actually it for the bedroom. Now moving on to the bathroom, which was pretty quick to furnish. It's a pretty small bathroom, and I actually didn't go with the cheapest plumbing for this, so I used the next to cheapest stuff. Because I've realized I have a tendency to either use the cheapest toilets and showers or the most expensive. I don't really use the ones in between too often, so I thought it'd be good to use some of those items in this bathroom. Right now I'm adding in a rug, and then for the wallpaper I decided to just use one of the tiles that came with Spa Day. I really do like all the flooring and walls that came with the game pack. I also brightened up the couches and chairs in the living room a little bit because there was darker wood on the end table and the table the TV was on, so I figured it'd be good to lighten up the couch. Right now, moving on to what I saw as the teen bedroom, but you could always use it as, say, like a roommate bedroom or something like that, like whatever you want to use it for, really. It's a pretty generic teen room. Like, I didn't really make it with a theme of, like, say, a sim who's into music or sim who's into art or something like that. But you could always personalize it more for whatever sim you use this room for. Like, I put it in a computer, but you could always replace that with an art easel if your sim's into art, or, that sort of thing, really. Like, I don't get offended at all if people change up my builds. Like, you can do whatever you want with them. I did try to add in some posters all over the walls to add some more color to this room. I thought this little area that bumped out in the front of the room was perfect as a desk area. So I just added in the cheapest computer there. We also have some books and pencils, a backpack, that sort of thing. And there wasn't much room left in the room apart from that, so I just added in one of the wardrobes and made it a green color just to add a little bit more color to the room because the walls are gray and white. I don't think it looks too bad. We also put in a mirror there next to that, as well as even more posters next to the desk. So that's pretty much it for this room. Although I think I'd go back in later and change the color of the rug and the curtain just so there's a little bit more color in this room. So now moving on to the kids' bedroom. So for this one I went with sort of an orange, blue, and green dinosaur theme. So I'm just adding in a bunch of toys on top of this dresser here, also getting some clothes as well. So I did that thing I did before where I snapped an object to the dresser and then moved it over to where I wanted it to be. And I should have figured out to do that sooner because it's so much easier than what I was doing before. And you can arrange things pretty nicely on top of surfaces when you do that. So over here I made this the desk nook. And instead of using the matching kids chair, I thought it'd be neat to use that bubble chair. I think it looks pretty nice in here. And I think at this point the house cost around 60,000 simoleons. So I realized I went way above the budget I initially had, but I think that's fine. Here we're getting in the wallpaper and adding in some more decorations and all of that. I think this room's just about done, so soon I'm going to be moving on to the bathroom. And I didn't really think about this at first, but the bathroom is actually the same size as the teen and children's bedroom, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I mean, this house isn't perfect, I can't do everything perfectly. So that was a little bit of a mistake. I probably should have made that a little bit smaller. I mean, it is kind of nice to have a larger bathroom. And if you did have a need for a fourth bedroom in this home, what you could do is rearrange the master bathroom so that you can get to it through the hallway and then turn this into a fourth bedroom. Then you'd have a 4-bedroom home with 1 bathroom, which could be trouble, but I think it would be doable. So that is always a change that you could make to this house if you need an extra bedroom in it. There isn't really a whole lot to say about this bathroom. It has the same sort of style that the other one does, but this is the last room in the house, so I wanted to mention that if you want to download this house, there will be a download link in the description as always, and if you want to find it in-game, you can search on the gallery for Beech Cottage or use the TidesChanging hashtag. That's all I wanted to say, so I hope you'll have an awesome day and enjoy the rest of this video.